So the purpose of the ban, the kherem, against the Anakim, descendants of the Nephilim who were created when the Watchers, the angels who kept not their first estate, mingled their seed with that of the seed of woman. They were in the land. The order was eliminate the bloodlines of the giants. That's what it came down to. Now, the southern campaign. Joshua is told by the captain of the host, the captain of the army of God, Jesus in the Old Testament, take off your sandals. This is holy ground. Joshua 6, verse 1. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. Remember, Jericho had walls that were like 18, 20 feet thick. Huge. And the Lord said to Joshua, and again, this is the Lord as the angel of Yahweh. You get a picture already of the Trinitarian doctrine in the Old Testament. The Lord said to Joshua, I've given Jericho into your hand, its king and its mighty men of valor. It's Gibborim. This is a Hebrew word that sometimes indicates giants. Sometimes it just indicates really tough dudes, like the personal bodyguard of King David. They were Gibborim. Gibborim were not always giants, but giants were always Gibborim. Gave them the instructions. March around the city for 6 days, blowing the ram's horns. Seventh day, walls will come tumbling down. You can take the city without resistance. The next on the list was Ai, then the cities of Makkedah, and I'll go through these quickly. Oh, wait a minute, there is a good map here. I thought maybe I'd forgotten to put this map. There we go. You can see the order of battle here. There was a southern campaign followed by a northern campaign. The southern campaign, Joshua first took Jericho, then Ai, then Makkedah. And this is documented in, I believe, chapter 10 of Joshua. Makkedah, devoted to destruction every person in it. Kherem. Libnah, struck it with the edge of the sword and every person in it. He left none remaining in it. Kherem. Lachish, laid siege to it, fought against it, struck it with the edge of the sword and every person in it. Kherem. Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish. Joshua struck him and his people, left none standing. Kherem. Joshua and all Israel passed on to Eglon, laid siege to it, fought against it, devoted every person in it to destruction. Kherem, you get the point. Every one of these cities, typically located in the highlands of Judea, the highlands of Judah, were occupied by the Anakim. We see that back in the book of Numbers. That is the reason for the kherem, the ban. Destroy them totally. They must be wiped out. Joshua struck the whole land, the hill country, and the Negev, and the lowland, and the slopes, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but devoted to destruction all that breathed. The northern campaign, that long arrow extending north on the map to the city of Hazor. Hazor was the most powerful Canaanite city in the land in those days. He called for help after he heard what had happened in southern Canaan. He called to Jobab, the king of Madon, the king of Shimron, the king of Achshaph, kings in the northern hill country. The Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Hivites, under Hermon, they came from as far away as Mount Hermon, assembled against Joshua. Joshua hamstrung their horses, burned them with fire. Then verse 10 of Joshua chapter 11, turned back at the time, captured the city of Hazor, struck its king with the sword, struck with the sword all who were in it, devoting them to destruction. Kherem. And interestingly, archaeologists have found at Hazor a layer of destruction. The city burned, dated to this period of time. Now again, why were the Amorites and the Perizzites and all the ites targeted? The Anakites, the Anakim, some translation does say Anakites. Anakim, we know were the bloodline of the Nephilim. The Rephaim, I got some good stuff on that. The Amorites were remembered as exceedingly wicked. You skip ahead to the son of King Hezekiah, Manasseh, 2 Kings 21. God making a point, or the chronicler here in 2 Kings making a point of how evil Manasseh the king was. The Lord said to his prophets, Because Manasseh, king of Judah, has committed these abominations and has done things more evil than all that the Amorites did, who were before him, and has made Judah also to sin with his idols. Therefore thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I'm bringing upon Jerusalem and Judah such disaster that the ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. Manasseh was worse than the Amorites. Therefore, the Babylonians are going to come, loot the temple, sack the city, and carry you off to captivity. The Amorites, as I said, were a Semitic-speaking people who dominated ancient Mesopotamia, the whole Fertile Crescent from Babylon to Canaan, for about 400 years. Interestingly, that was about the 400 years from the time Abram was called from Ur of the Chaldees in northern Mesopotamia, which is dominated by the Amorites, to about 1600 BC, when they were sojourning in Egypt. According to the records, as best scholars can tell, the people in ancient Mesopotamia who wrote about the Amorites said that they came from a mountain called Sharshar. It was an evil place. They said their gods had to go and fight against it to try to keep the Amorites away. It is in north-central Syria today called Jebel Bishri. It is right now along the west bank of the Euphrates River between Deir al-Zur, which the Syrian army is desperately trying to hang on to, and the city of Raqqa, which is the capital city of the Islamic State. Is that a coincidence that this is just the center of the Islamic State's evil today? Yeah, maybe, and maybe not. The Amorites are first mentioned in the Sumerian records about 2400 BC. They were considered uncivilized, savages. Here's a description of the Amorites from the Sumerian records. They were called the Martu by the Sumerians. The Martu know no grain. They know no house nor town. The boors of the mountains. The Martu who digs up truffles, who does not bend his knees to cultivate the land, who eats raw meat, who has no house during his lifetime, who is not buried after death. They were uncouth. They didn't live in cities. They slept in tents. They smelled bad. And they were considered such a threat to Mesopotamia that the king of Ur in the year 2000 BC or thereabouts, a guy named Shushin, built a wall 170 miles long between the Tigris River and the Euphrates River to keep out the Amorites. Now, on April 1st of this year, a wiseacre academic scholar published a paper in an academic journal about Shushin building a wall to keep Sumer great and how to make the Amorites pay for the wall to keep the Amorites out. You can guess he's probably not going to vote for Mr. Trump in November.